We are betting 40,000.
Are you guys drug dealers?
We're professional lottery players.
That isn't a thing.
It is now.
I think that the thing about Atlanta has so many different looks. There's such an amazing crew base here that has spent years working, developing, and evolving.
You've got beautiful parks, beautiful forest lands, lakes, rivers.
There's a fairly diverse neighborhood environments, and especially in Atlanta. Everything we seemed like we needed, we could find here.
Obviously, Jerry and Marge is not a documentary. We're making a fun comedy. But it is based on a true story in Evert, Michigan. So when we were looking around Atlanta for a town that could be a good match, we visited half a dozen towns and finally stumbled on Social Circle, and it seemed like a perfect fit. It's really a one-stoplight town.
Felt very Midwest looking. It also had a lot of empty storefronts.
They let us essentially take over their main street for a week. And the first thing we did was dress down the town because we needed to make it look dilapidated so that by the end of the movie we can dress it up and show how everything has improved.
And we put a lot of the stores to look closed or boarded up in the early part of the movie. And then when we have come back, it's going to be renewed and refreshed. We've repainted a lot of things. We put new awnings on. We've spruced it up.
The town welcomed us, and it was both cinematically perfect and logistically worked for the movie.
Norcross is the location for the Selby home, which is a beautiful suburb of Atlanta that has these old craftsman-style homes with lots of space and big, beautiful verandas.
On this production, what we tried to do is cluster our locations together so we could shoot one scene and then move quite quickly into another portion.
Today we are in Thrasher Park in Norcross, Georgia, the culmination scene where the jazz festival is back and Evert has sort of been saved. We looked at a lot of little town parks, and ironically this one was maybe half a mile away from the house that we shot for Jerry and Marge, and we kept coming back to it because it had a great amphitheater in place, and it was easier for us to take an existing amphitheater and make it look ruined than to do it the other way around.
We have a band shell there that we augmented to appear that a tree's fallen through it.
Last week this was a ruin. Tonight it's a magical place with a jazz festival.
Okay, let's go count.
We filmed a scene at Stone Mountain Park because there's a beautiful lake there with a boat ramp, and the trees and the vegetation feels like it could be the upper Midwest, like Michigan.
Holy cow.
The gas station in Evert was Leon's, and that's where Jerry goes for coffee literally every day, and that's where he first finds the info on the lottery game. It wasn't really functioning, so we kind of took it over and expanded it and made it more of a convenience store with a coffee area. The art department really brought it to life. The BP station was the convenience store outside of Evert, where Brian takes his first stab at the lottery. And he didn't want to go where anybody would know him, so we picked one that felt fairly isolated. It worked out fine.
8,000. There we go. Bye-bye.
The lovely pick and shovel in. We scoured all of the motels around Atlanta and finally settled on this particular one.
We picked that one because it had 2 levels, which the director wanted. The art department, again, turned the inside into something completely different.
Once we had our space, we just reverse engineered what we needed in there. The wallpaper, the tongue and groove, the pine, and then the motel itself brought its own inherent level of grime as well.
I don't think this door locks.
I like shooting and exploring some interesting locations. We're out here in the small town of McDonough, Georgia. I haven't spent a lot of time in rural Georgia, but it's a lot of fun. This is a rundown roadside gas station antique store.
Billy's was another extensive search. We looked all over Atlanta to try to find something that had the right character for Billy's, and this is one of the more important sets as well that tells a story about who Billy is.
Loser! Did that woman just rob you?
That's my wife.
Wow.
We found Miller's store, which has a long history in Georgia. Multiple generations have owned that store. Just reconfigured it so it would work for all the scenes that we're doing in Billy's, including the dance scene.
Well, the Silver Skillet Diner in Atlanta is kind of a landmark. It hasn't changed much since about 1962. It lent itself well to the idea of a down diner in Evert during its struggling period. The Homegrown Cafe played as the Sunderland Cafe, sort of a folksy place, a little more rural than perhaps Evert did. The director wanted it to feel like a different place because it was in Massachusetts. Agnes Scott, we filmed some exterior scenes there, mostly the quads. It looks a little bit more like Harvard. It's got the right brick and some other facades that helped sell it.
$50,000.
We played Oglethorpe University for Harvard. It has a more Gothic look than Harvard, but we're hoping people will overlook that. It had a great common space for the dorm scenes, and I think it felt very Ivy League. We wound up splitting our colleges, an exterior over here and interior over here. In Cambridge, the young man from Harvard who's figured this out as well is trying to get his posse to go out and buy a bunch of tickets. So we had to find some urban streets that looked like they could be Cambridge.
It's gonna be a big one. It's all of us now, so make it count. Go, go, go.
You know, Georgia's just got a lot of different looks and a lot of crew. People keep coming back, and there's bones here that you can manipulate and turn into what you need.
There's really an opportunity for making your movie look like anything when you're shooting here. And we've been also very lucky because we haven't had to build anything. We've been able to find every location practically.
It's been great working in Georgia. The community out there really opened their arms and made us feel welcome.